just going to drop. Now we come to the next part of our presentation, which was talking about the best practices. We're going to keep this a little simple and not get into too many details about every best practice that should be followed. This is more of a customization of available best practices to what suits our needs, to what suits the needs of any mobile application developer. So we categorize them into three phases: the design, into the best practices for the design phase, for the development, and for testing. Now, best practices in design are, there are two kinds of standards available. One is the product design standard, and the other is the UI design best practices. Now, there are best practices, mostly industry standard practices are that you should support all orientation. You want to flip it vertical, flip it into portrait, flip it into landscape. You should maintain visual stability. Don't switch screens too many times. If you can change something on the same screen somewhere and just keep the rest of the screen same, you should try to do that so that your user does not have to move between too many screens. Enable collaboration. Put in Facebook, put in BBM, any kind of other chat tools you can use, put in NFC. So you enable, put in leaderboards. These are things that will spread around your app. It's a way of getting more users, getting more downloads. Minimize the number of settings that a user needs to do, because this is an irritant for the user, and this is out of our own experience as well. We've seen that if you tell the user to do too many things with the app, he gets irritated. If I want to launch a website, or if I want to just simply play a game, and you tell me to do 10 settings, I'll just get irritated and close the app or probably delete it. So minimize the number of settings that the user has to do. And you can actually find the complete list at this link that I have provided. These are nothing but actually Apple design. These are design standards that are set down by Apple for its iOS applications. So these are the industry standard practices, and our practice that we follow at Spice Labs is very simple. We just try to make the user comfortable with your app. He should want to come back to it tomorrow and day after and the day after it. The best practices in development would be of two sorts. One is the Java or whatever language you're using, the coding best practices for that, whether it's Symbian you're using. The one more thing that you should follow, which I pointed out earlier as well, is the reviews, which are as important in the development phase as in the design phase. The code reviews and the peer reviews. So if you're writing a piece of code, get it reviewed by your peers. And the other guidelines are those which are given by the individual app stores. If you're developing for Android or whether you're developing for iOS, each of these give you their own guidelines for development. So we need to try and put in those best practices into our applications while the development phase is going on. The third is the best practices for testing in QA. Now, again, here we don't have any industry standards, but yes, there are some things which would do you good if you followed it. One is the unit testing. Before anything is put out into final QA, do a unit by unit, screen by screen testing of every screen, the UI components, if they're rightly aligned, if every menu function, every button on the screen is working properly, or whatever unit you want to break down your application into, depending on your product. For performance testing, like I said, the load testing, the endpoints, check the endpoints, and check the services that run in the background. The product acceptance testing, which is, after the final testing is done, you need to get a final product sign off that yes, they are comfortable with this release and they know what is going out in this release and it is as per what they wanted. This might seem a very trivial thing to do, but actually it's very important, because most of the times when you put out an application, you will just try to keep enhancing it. You won't be doing like 20 applications a month. You'll try, the best practice is generally to try to do one application and keep giving it enhancements so that you can sustain it. So if you want to really sustain an application of yours on a particular app store for say 1 to 2 to even up to 2 years or more, then what you need to do is keep providing timely updates. And these updates and releases or enhancements need to be planned out in a particular manner which the product team would have done. So this is the reason that the final product, before it's uploaded onto the App Store, needs to be given a final stamp of approval from the product team. And of course, we need to do the device sanity. Check that it's running on every device. If you don't have the device, use the simulators. Check that it's working for all the screen sizes the way you wanted it to. So we eventually see, these are some points that we want to think about before doing any kind of applications. Is be very clear on what you want to do, what kind of app stores, what are the types of apps, where you want to scale. Do you want to scale on the app stores? Today I'm doing maybe Android, tomorrow I want to do the BlackBerry app store, and then I want to do the iPhone. Do I want to scale on releases? Or, so which means that like I said, we have one application and we just keep giving them updates, giving the user more updates and keep scaling our app. Or do you want to do more apps? So my plan is like, I'm doing 5 apps today, I'm going to do 10 apps next month, another 15, my number of apps increases to 15 the month after that. Do you want to scale on the number of apps, or do you want to scale on the app store or on the releases? So what you want to do, where you want to scale. And finally, something that's important but which we generally do not consider is, what is the extra baggage that you're carrying? What is it that you will discard if you are really hard crunched for resources and time? So mostly these are going to be the no profit apps. They're not really doing much for you. They're not giving you downloads, they're not giving you user base, they're not giving you any kind of money. So you should have a clear list of the extra baggage you've got. The outdated apps, something that was cool one year back might not be cool today. So you would want to drop it instead of trying to go on supporting it. So we should have a very clear list of the extra baggage that we're carrying and which we're going to shed if we want to. So these are some things that we should constantly be thinking about to evolve. It's not like I have to sit and think this today before my product starts, before my project starts, or I don't have to think about it as a lessons learned after my project is over. It is something that I have to continuously think, and these are lists that I have to keep continuously evolving. A few tips. Effective planning does not mean that you should create a roadmap for the next 1 year. You won't be able to. It's as simple as that. Leave alone next 1 year, you won't be able to do next 6 months also. But what you can do is try to predict the trends which are going to be there 3 months later. Study the upcoming technologies. Like I said, BBM came in-app came in, NFC came in. So you keep yourself updated with what are the things that are, what are the new offerings by every app store. Keep studying the technologies that are coming up every day and keep thinking about how you can use that in your apps. Create a roadmap of releases. And what is important and what is also a common mistake is, do not create a roadmap for a time frame. Create a roadmap for the releases, because it's that which is going to help you. If you plan for 4 months, you don't know what would have happened in the next 4 months. Create a plan for releases. Chart out that today I have this app. Tomorrow I'm going to put in these enhancements, the next set of enhancements, and so on. And then map it to the time. Do not work it the other way around, that I need to create a roadmap for 4 months. I want to put out one release every month, and now I have to think what the releases are. I should be always ready with ideas for 4 releases, depending on my environment. Like I said, what are all the technologies coming up, what all I want to do, and then chart them to the time. Be prepared for the surprises. This is one very important thing to do, and we commonly miss it out, is we should always be prepared for surprises. There could be application bugs, there could be service disruptions. We always need to plan and schedule our activities in such a manner that we have enough buffer for these kind of things happening. The other releases should not get suffered at the hands of these surprises. And lastly, and very importantly, we should learn to read the pulse of your user, because this is very important. You should try to understand what your user wants and understand what he wants tomorrow. Don't try to understand what he's wanting today. Don't cater to what he's wanting today. If he sends you a mail that I want this feature, your mistake was you should have thought of that feature a month back. So try to understand what he will want tomorrow. And that you can do when you've actually understood your user. So connect with your user. Now quickly summarizing what we did. We just went through the project management and popular techniques in it. And we saw how which approach suits best. Of course, these are not definitive. We can always pick up and customize whatever we want. And the keyword is here, customize. We should don't go by the rules. If you're talking of project management technique, build your model around what you do. Don't build what you do around a pre-existing model. Because Agile wants it, or because Waterfall wants it, or because a third methodology wants it, don't plan that way. You plan your own way and just pick up the lessons from these technologies. And again, best practices is not a Bible. The industry standard practices are good. Learn from them. Don't learn them. So you don't have to copy paste them. You really have to understand, take the learnings from those best practices and use whatever suits you. So I am sure everybody is going to